everyone. Welcome to Legacy Income Report, your trusted source for retirement news, Social Security updates, tax strategies, and wealth preservation. If you're looking to protect your retirement and stay informed, you're in the right place. Let's get started.
Yeah, and today we are getting into a deep dive on a topic that honestly catches so many folks off guard, especially as they get closer to those retirement years.
Right. Because I want you to imagine a scenario. You are, say, 5 or 10 years away from retiring, you're living comfortably, your income is stable, and suddenly your boss offers you a massive promotion.
Which, naturally sounds like a dream. You think, great, more money for the nest egg, maybe a bigger Social Security benefit down the line. It's a win.
Exactly. I mean, we all think that popping champagne and updating our LinkedIn profile is just the obvious next step. But what if I told you there is a 60% chance that saying yes to that promotion will mathematically destroy your daily happiness?
It's staggering to think about.
Hmm.
And it could stall your entire career right when you need stability the most.
Yeah, today we are completely dismantling that universal assumption that moving up the corporate ladder is always the right move.
Because it is deeply ingrained in
Yeah.
us, right? I mean, from kindergarten onward, success just means moving to the next grade. Up is always good.
Oh, absolutely. Always.
But the workplace, uh, it doesn't operate like the school system.
Hmm.
And assuming it does is this massive trap that catches some of the most talented people out there. And it can be especially risky for pre-retirees.
Right, because we tend to treat our careers like a video game where we just grind to level up and beat the final boss.
Yeah, exactly. The video game analogy is perfect.
But leveling up in your career, it often changes the entire genre of the game. So imagine you spend years mastering a first-person shooter. You are an elite sniper. You're the absolute best on your server.
Okay, I'm with you.
And as a reward for being such a great sniper, the game suddenly turns into a resource management simulator where your only weapon is a spreadsheet and a budget to balance.
And, I mean, if you happen to be a fantastic sniper, but a completely miserable accountant, that so-called reward is actually a career-ending trap. The skills that made you elite in one arena are entirely useless in the new one.
And that is the core of our deep dive today. We're pulling from labor economics and corporate management theory, including a massive study of 53,000 workers.
Yeah, that study is wild.
It really is. We're going to show why superstar employees often make terrible bosses. And crucially, we're going to walk you through a specific framework you can use to decline a promotion, keep your professional reputation spotless, and still negotiate a raise.
Which is such a vital skill, because to understand why this happens, we really have to go back to 1969. There's a man named Lawrence J. Peter who published a book that was, it was actually intended to be corporate satire.
Wait, really? It was a joke?
Yeah. He was just poking fun at mid-century bureaucracy.
Yeah.
But his central thesis struck such a nerve that it evolved into this foundational pillar of management theory.
Right, the famous Peter Principle. His argument was that in any hierarchy, every employee eventually tends to rise to their level of incompetence.
Which sounds incredibly cynical, I know.
That really does sound cynical. But let's look at the mechanics of how it actually plays out on a normal company. You start a job, and because you're highly competent, management notices.
Right. They reward you with a promotion.
Exactly. So now you're in a slightly harder job, you adapt, you put in the hours, and, you master that role too.
So management rewards you again. And the cycle just continues as long as you keep succeeding.
Until you hit a wall.
Precisely. You keep getting promoted until you land in a role requiring a skill set you fundamentally do not possess.
Yeah.
Maybe the pressure is too abstract, or the daily tasks just clash with your natural talents. Your performance inevitably drops. You hit what Lawrence Peter called your final placement.
Final placement. That sounds so ominous.
It does,
Yeah.
because you aren't excelling anymore, so the promotions stop. But, and this is the vital flaw in the corporate system, you don't get fired either.
Right, you just sort of hang there.
Yeah, you hang there in the middle of the org chart, totally stressed out, blocking anyone below you from moving up.
So the company essentially functions as a machine designed to tune your highest competence into a state of permanent incompetence.
Exactly.
But wait, I want to challenge this premise a bit because I see this happen constantly in tech and engineering, and I think people have a natural defense against this theory.
Okay, let's hear it.
Let's take the classic example from our sources. A brilliant software engineer, right? This person writes cleaner code than anyone else, solves complex architecture problems in their sleep.
Sure.
When the company promotes them to engineering manager, Shouldn't a literal genius just be able to learn the soft skills? I mean, resolving developer conflicts and sitting in budget meetings can't be harder than building a neural network.
Oh, that assumes intelligence is this universal skeleton key that unlocks all skills equally, and the data just proves otherwise.
Really? So it's not about brain power.
Not at all. The problem isn't a lack of brain power. It's a fundamental mismatch of behavioral wiring.
Okay, what do you mean by behavioral wiring?
Well, think about it. Technical architecture requires deep, isolated focus. It rewards interacting with entirely predictable systems.
Ah, whereas management is entirely unpredictable because, well, humans are unpredictable.
Exactly. Being an engineering manager requires constant context switching, deep empathy, diplomacy, and just a massive tolerance for administrative overhead.
Which a lot of people just hate doing.
Right. Our brilliant coder might find the logic of a neural network totally soothing, but find the emotional nuance of a performance review absolutely agonizing.
Oh, wow. Which means the company traded its highest performing engineer for an anxious, mediocre manager.
Exactly. And the engineer who maybe just wanted to do great work and build their retirement savings in peace is now completely miserable.
But Lawrence Peter wrote this back in the 60s. Surely modern HR departments with, all their performance algorithms and 360-degree reviews, they've solved this by now, right? Are companies still systematically destroying value this way?
Oh, they are doing it on an industrial scale today.
Scary kid.
No, seriously. A few years ago, researchers published a massive paper in the Quarterly Journal of Economics titled Promotions and the Peter Principle. They wanted to test if this phenomenon was actually verifiable in modern business.
Okay, so what did they look at?
They analyzed data from over 200 different firms, tracking the careers of over 53,000 workers.
53,000. That's a huge sample. And they focused specifically on sales teams, right?
Yeah, they did.
Which makes perfect sense because in a lot of corporate jobs, defining good performance is pretty subjective. It might just mean your PowerPoint decks look nice or the VP likes your sense of humor.
Right, it's very fuzzy.
But sales is brutally objective. You either hit your revenue target or you missed it. It's the perfect petri dish for measuring competence.
And the researchers found an almost universal pattern across those 200 firms. The single strongest predictor of whether a salesperson got promoted to a manager was their individual sales volume.
Meaning the biggest closers became the bosses.
Exactly. The top performers got the management jobs.
Which, that feels entirely meritocratic. If you crush your quota, you get the prize. If I'm a CEO, I want my bestseller teaching everyone else how to sell.
Right, it sounds totally logical.
Yeah.
But that is the exact trap the data exposes. When the researchers look at the performance of the actual teams those superstar salespeople took over, they found a stark negative correlation.
Wait, negative. So they were worse.
Yes. The better a person was at selling, the worse they were at managing. The highest performing salespeople actually led teams that performed worse than teams managed by completely average salespeople.
That completely inverts how we view leadership. We just assume the best players make the best coaches.
But they don't. You're saying the company is taking its highest revenue generators off the street, stopping them from selling, and putting them in a role where they actively damage the performance of everyone else.
So why doesn't the skill transfer? Sales is sales, right?
Well, think about the psychological profile of a superstar closer. Selling at that elite level is often a lone wolf activity.
Oh, sure.
It requires aggression, a singular focus on your own pipeline, and frankly, a degree of selfishness. You are hunting for your own commission.
Right, you're trying to maximize your own income, maybe pad out that 401k.
Exactly. But management requires the exact opposite toolkit. You have to take joy in watching someone else close the deal. You need infinite patience to coach someone through a slump.
So who are the actual good managers in this 53,000-person study? Who should have been promoted?
The data showed the most effective managers were the salespeople who had a proven track record of collaborating on complex deals. They were the team players who helped others cross the finish line.
But let me guess, they didn't get promoted.
Nope. Because here is the tragic irony. Their individual numbers usually weren't the highest, precisely because they were sharing credit and dividing their time to help the team.
So they get completely overlooked because the system is just blinded by flashy metrics.
Yes.
It assumes talent is strictly vertical. Like if you are a level 10 seller, you must automatically be a level 10 manager.
But talent is horizontal. Being an elite lone wolf tells you absolutely nothing about your ability to coach a pack.
Wow, the skills are, they're orthogonal.
Exactly. But there is another layer to this trap, and it isn't just about mismatched skills. There's actually a mathematical illusion hiding in the exact timing of when we grant promotions.
A mathematical illusion.
Yeah. This is where we need to look closely at our own performance reviews. We pulled a Stanford working paper that looks at the Peter Principle not as a psychological failing, but as a statistical inevitability known as regression to the mean.
Okay, regression to the mean. I think we need to unpack that for a second.
Sure. To get promoted in the modern corporate world, just being, good usually isn't enough.
Yeah.
You need to have a spectacular outlier year to really get noticed by upper management. You need to blow your targets out of the water.
Right. But any spectacular performance is always a combination of high baseline skill and high variance. Or, frankly, just luck.
Right. And here's the mathematical reality of high variance. It doesn't last. Statistically, if you have an extreme outlier year, your performance the following year is almost guaranteed to drift back down toward your long-term average.
But wait, isn't that penalizing high achievers? I mean, if I have a massive year and close a record number of deals, I still did the work. Calling it variance or regression feels like it dismisses the effort.
It doesn't dismiss the work, it just acknowledges the unrepeatable conditions. Maybe a major competitor stumbled that year, or the macroeconomic environment was unusually hot.
Right, circumstances aligned perfectly.
Exactly. You capitalized on it beautifully, which takes skill. But mathematically, those exact conditions won't replicate. Your numbers will inevitably soften and return to your baseline average.
And the devastating irony here is that because you just had that peak outlier year, you were handed a promotion.
Right.
So this entirely natural mathematical drop-off in your performance happens at the exact same moment you are trying to learn a brand new, significantly harder job.
It creates a dual crisis. You lose your lucky streak just as you face a steeper learning curve.
Oh, man. So to your new bosses, it looks like you suddenly lost your edge overnight. They wonder what happened to their superstar.
But you didn't change at all. The promotion system just algorithmically selected you at your absolute unrepeatable peak and set you up for a mathematical correction.
That's incredible.
The system essentially tricks itself into thinking you are failing at the new job, when in reality you were just returning to normal.
So if the traditional corporate ladder is mathematically and structurally setting us up for failure, we need to completely rethink how we visualize our careers, especially in those final years before retirement.
Absolutely. The ladder metaphor itself is part of the problem because ladders only go one direction.
Right, let's ditch the ladder completely. Think of your career more like climbing a mountain.
I like that.
At the bottom, at base camp, you're a junior analyst, the air is thick, the work is basic, and you're learning the ropes. Your competence rises as you climb.
And eventually you reach a plateau halfway up the mountain. Let's call it the senior analyst level.
Yes, and this plateau is your zone of genius. The weather is perfect, you're breathing easily, the tasks in this role match your brain's natural wiring perfectly.
You operate efficiently, you feel confident, and you log off at the end of the day feeling incredibly useful. It's a great place to be, especially if you're trying to coast into retirement with low stress.
Exactly. But the company, driven by this relentless up is always good mentality, they insist you keep climbing. They push you off that plateau and tell you to head toward the summit.
The manager and director levels.
And that summit is the death zone. There is no oxygen up there. The job is now pure politics, resource allocation, and high-level strategy. Your natural skills are totally useless here.
You're freezing, you're miserable, and you're completely drowning in the responsibilities of a job you never actually wanted.
You have entered the Peter zone.
The Peter zone.
Yeah.
And the absolute absurdity of the corporate world is how we react to this transition.
Oh, I know. We throw office parties, we bring in cake,
Yes.
we update our LinkedIn profiles and wait for the congratulations to roll in. We literally pop champagne to celebrate the exact moment someone leaves their zone of genius and enters the death zone where they will be fundamentally bad at their job.
It's a profound ego trap. We crave the validation of the title more than the daily reality of the work. But let's bring this down to the ground level for our listeners.
Please do.
You see the mountain. You know the death zone is a trap. But management is dangling a promotion in front of you, and it comes with a 20% raise.
And this is the ultimate friction point for anyone, but especially if you're eyeing retirement. You want the money, you have a mortgage, you want to boost your savings, maybe help your kids out.
Right.
How do you decline the promotion without looking like you have zero ambition, without killing your future at the company while still capturing that financial upside?
To solve this, we rely on a concept called expected utility. Think of it as a personal balance sheet. Your overall expected utility equals your income plus your job satisfaction minus your daily stress.
Okay, income plus job satisfaction minus daily stress. Got it.
In your 20s, when you're at base camp, taking a promotion is an easy trade. The extra money significantly boosts your utility, and you can easily absorb the slight bump in stress.
You've got the energy for it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But there is a distinct tipping point, usually around that senior individual contributor role on the plateau we talked about. Beyond that point, the utility equation heavily inverts.
Meaning the stress outweighs the money.
Yes, you might be offered 20% more money to become a manager, but it requires a 50% increase in stress, longer hours, endless personnel conflicts, and a high probability of failure.
And honestly, if you're 58 years old, a 50% increase in stress could literally mean health issues. It could force you into early, unplanned retirement.
Exactly. A rational investor would never take a trade with a heavily negative expected value. Yet, we do it with our careers every single day, just for the title.
So what's the move? Here is the specific framework strategy for saying no, which our sources call the skills audit.
The critical first step is uncoupling the pay from the role in your own mind. You likely only want the promotion for the raise. You don't actually want to manage the team.
Right.
So you have to sit down with your boss and pivot the entire conversation to focus strictly on return on investment or ROI.
You never say, I don't want to manage people because it sounds exhausting. That just sounds lazy. Instead, you frame your refusal as a fierce, calculated commitment to excellence. You push for a senior individual contributor track. You sit down and say something like, I am incredibly honored by the offer, but I've been auditing where I drive the highest ROI for this company, and it is in doing the deep technical work, not managing the team. I want to double down on being the absolute best specialist you have.
That is brilliant. Then you immediately follow up with an alternative value proposition. You say, can we design a path where I take on your most complex, high-stakes accounts and I act as an informal mentor to the juniors with a compensation adjustment to reflect that higher-tier output, but I stay completely out of the administrative management track?
Oh, I love that. You are framing it so that you are actually protecting the company from gaining a bad manager and losing a great specialist.
And the subtle power of this is incredible. Declining a promotion this way demonstrates supreme confidence. It signals to leadership that you know exactly what your specific value is, and you are not desperate for a fancy title to stroke your ego.
And it's practically a retention strategy for yourself. Because paradoxically, choosing to stay in your zone of genius often provides far more long-term job security than climbing into middle management.
Absolutely. Think about what happens when the macroeconomic environment shifts and a company announces layoffs. Who gets cut first?
Oh, it is almost always the bloated layer of middle management. The climbers are expendable because they're operating at the edge of their incompetence, pushing papers around.
Exactly.
The people who actually build the product, write the core code, or close the massive sales, the specialists, they stay. They are bulletproof.
Which is exactly where you want to be if you're trying to safely navigate your final working years before retirement, but requires a profound shift in how we measure our own success.
Yeah, really does.
We are deeply conditioned by society to view stagnation as failure. If you've had the same title for 5 years, people assume your career is dead.
But strategic stagnation, finding your plateau, camping out at your absolute peak of competence, and maximizing your expected utility is actually the rational, mathematically optimal move for your life.
The Peter Principle isn't just an amusing anecdote. It is a structural flaw built into the DNA of modern work, backed by hard sales data and the unavoidable math of regression to the mean.
Yeah, blindly saying yes to every upward move is a one-way ticket to a daily reality you will eventually hate. The smartest person in the corporate room isn't the CEO.
No, it's not.
It's the person who climbed to the exact altitude where they were most effective, where their expected utility peaked, and then had the incredible discipline to just stop climbing.
Which leaves you with a question worth asking yourself the next time your boss calls you into their office.
What's that?
If your organization's only mechanism for rewarding your extreme competence is to force you into a completely different profession, are you actually building a career, or are you just waiting in line for your turn to be incompetent?
That is a phenomenal point to end on. Take a hard look at your own trajectory. If the titles, the prestige, and the LinkedIn updates suddenly disappear tomorrow, what would your perfect final placement actually look like? And more importantly, are you brave enough to stay there?